Most of the poems formed in my head when I was out on the tractor. So I get in, go in the house and write them down.
You know, he loved to share music, his music with me, and poetry, but it wasn't his poetry at the time. So I don't know if he didn't think it was good enough, but he loved poetry. He told me that he actually won an award for reciting poetry when he went to school.
It's kind of reading about his life, about what he went through in the war and what life is like on the farm and just his thoughts.
I don't know, he must have 50 poems here. And you know, I mean, a lot of them are about the war. Quite, I would say probably 40%. I you know, just by looking, there's a lot on there, you know, about war.
Yeah, it was me about 18 when the war started, I guess. 18, 19. Just a young man. And with a lot of other young men. Most of us come back. Some didn't come back. And you're sad about that, you know. Well, I lost my best friend over there. The Germans had a nasty habit. They would send over a salvo of mortars, and everybody would take cover. Then they'd wait a few minutes because they knew people were going out to take care of the wounded. And then they'd send over one more, and that's because he got killed.
This poem is called Clifford Cushing, killed in Normandy, July 1944. In Normandy, where beauty reigned, I see what's left by war machines, the trampled fields and broken towns, and were soil red with men's blood stains. Today I lost one of my friends to death upon the battlefield. He died with courage in his heart, from duty did not flinch or yield. Two comrades had been wounded by the shrapnel from a mortar shell. While tending to their mortal wounds, he himself by enemy fire fell. One could not find a truer friend, and he lived life unto the full. A ready grin, a generous heart, for him life was not ever dull. He was my friend, I'll not forget, good times we had, the things we dared. As descendants of the Irish race, a special comradeship we shared. War rages on, we cannot stop to mourn our comrades' loss of life. Death stalks our ranks, who will be next to pay the supreme sacrifice?
It's not nice seeing your close friends get killed, but it's part of the job, and you get used to it. When you see it every day, you know, that you get hardened to it.
In Flanders fields again. In Flanders fields among the slain, we who survived came home again. Our fathers fought for freedom there. The world no longer seemed to care.
Their sacrifice, was it in vain? I'm home once more, I did not die, among red poppies, 'neath blue sky. But there amidst the ripening wheat, where poppies bloom in summer's heat, some comrades sleep and larks still fly.
Some folks will never understand. They have not seen blood-reddened sand. But I saw things no one should see. I can't forget. They stay with me, those scenes from out a war-torn land. The battle's o'er. They say we won. What's that to those who lost a son?
His father's pride, his mother's joy. He was a man while still a boy. Just one more cross in Flanders fields. Pretty powerful.
Well, I don't know. It's hard to remember all these things, you know. You don't try to remember them, really.
So his best friend over there died, among others, but I'm sure it was pretty tough on him. He himself was wounded, fairly bad.
It was a night bombing by the German. And it was about midnight, I guess, and I come over, started dropping bombs, and I guess I was too close.
Part of the detonating pin or something on this mortar went into his shoulder, and it came lodged into the lower back. So he was out for several months, probably half a year, with a major injury.
A doctor come around about 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and he said, "Boy, you're a lucky guy." I said, "What do you mean lucky?" He says, "Lucky lady." Yes, he said, "Wait till I see what I took out of you." And so I've kept that all these years.
Were you scared?
No, that's a funny thing. I don't think anybody gets scared. And maybe some do, I don't know. When you're with a group that they know of soldiers that's going into action, they know what to expect. So you carry on with your whatever you're doing is just the same, you know.
Actually, he came back towards the end of the war and was serving again. And so he's a hardy soul, tough soul.
We idolized him, actually. This guy who was in the war, and he was in the trenches, and the one I remember best is when the bolt from the bomb tore through his body, barely missing the vital organs. So we heard these stories, and yeah, he was our hero.
Please allow me to express once more my most sincere congratulations on behalf of France and all my countrymen regarding your nomination to the rank of Knight of the National Order of the Legion of Honor, the highest of our national orders. It is my honor to deliver your insignia to you in accordance with your wishes. You will find them included in this letter. Your diploma will arrive shortly in a different envelope. With regards to foreign nationals, the Code of the Legion of Honor states that nominations are effective as of the date that the issuing order is published. As the Canadian authorities have already given their approval for your nomination, you can therefore proudly wear this insignia, which attests to your courage and your devotion to the ideals of liberty and peace.
Well, she was 19 when I met her. Anyway, she was 19, I was 29 when we got married. Some people might think I robbed the cradle.
How did you propose to her? Do you remember?
Yes, I asked her to marry me.
Yes, my parents' 70-year marriage. I think it's due to faithfulness and loyalty. And I say faithfulness more as they kept doing life together. Like, you know, they had their squabbles and fights, and sometimes more in seasons more than in others. But they, you know, they kept eating dinner together. They kept talking, and they kept, you know, you just keep doing the things that you have to do, and then it solves it eventually. So, yeah, and loyalty, just putting each other first and the marriage first.
How have they stayed together for 70 years? Perseverance. I mean, you know, there's always challenges in a marriage. You know, there might be a specific challenge or whatever, but I think they're cultured. Back in the early days, the culture was when you got married, you stayed married, and that was a big part of it. But obviously, you have to have some mutual respect, mutual admiration, mutual love in order for a couple to actually, you know, stay together for 70 years.
She's the only girl I ever went out with afterwards. She's a wonderful woman.
This poem that Dad wrote, it's called Harvest Moon. And it just kind of epitomizes, I guess, partly of, I think, why he picked farming. And so I'm going to read this, and it's Harvest Moon. There's a harvest moon in a hazy sky. It's a beautiful autumn night. A light breeze rustles the yellowing leaves, and the grain in the fields is ripe. Summer has faded away to autumn all across the western lands, and the preparations for a bountiful crop keep busy the farmer's hands. So we're working late with the combine dust hanging over the harvest fields. While the weather holds, the combine rolls, and we cherish the ample yield. The night breeze stills, and the dampness falls as dew on the swaths of grain. We call it a day, and the motor's still. We shall rest from the toil and strain. Still the evening's warm from the daytime heat, and we hope for a morrow dry, when another field will be garnered safe from the elements as autumn dies. Before I turn in, I pause on the steps, enthralled by the heavens divine. Has God not promised seed time and harvest? Peace and contentment are mine.
We moved up north to Nipawin country, and from there we come up. Well, then I bought a farm there when I come back from the army. So it was VLA. I don't know how many years we farmed, 15, 16 there. So I thought there was better opportunity out here with all the kids growing up too, and there is.
Being the first of 11 children, my life changed in that there was probably more diapers to change. I was thrilled, actually, with the babies as they came. They were, it was just fun to have them around till we came to the 11th one. Then I thought Mom and Dad were just a little bit out of order there. I thought, how is Dad going to support 11 kids? But there always was enough for everyone.
The boys had the outside chores, the girls had the inside chores, and Mom and Dad made it all work.
What was my life like growing up on the farm?
So I picked some rocks.
Picking rocks.
Picking rocks.
Picking rocks. I think we picked rocks just for character building.
There were times, you know, I'm about 12 or 13 at that time, and it was like, now I know why Dad had such a big family, so we could all be out picking rocks or picking roots.
We picked weeds, wild oats out of the fields. Dad would pay us a penny for each one we picked.
Did you make a lot of money?
No.
We also had lots of fun, though, on the farm. There was always enough of us for a ball team.
What is one of your favorite memories with your mother?
My mother is an awesome lady. She put up with all of us. And she taught us all how to cook bread. She taught us to make porridge. All of us had to take our turns churning butter. And so we did. And so we would have this bread hot out of the oven with fresh butter. And Mom was such a big part of everything in our growing up. And I just appreciate her so much. And again, she put up with all of us and she kept the house going.
I have one memory after Dad had bought the second farm, the one that they're on right now. It was 1970 or 71. I can't remember the year exactly, but Dad had just bought it, so he was in debt, and he didn't like debt at all. And it hailed, and as soon as the hail started coming, like it was big, the size of golf balls or even bigger. And so you run to the first place that you can get away from it so you don't get hurt. And Dad and I both ended up in the machine shed. And he's looking out across the fields, watching all of his hard work, all of his hopes and dreams be totally obliterated, like it hailed us out 100%. And one solitary tear slipped down his cheek. I'll just never forget that memory, because to me, my dad was so strong. Nothing would ever get him down. If he'd always rebound, and he did from that too. But you just see a part of, there's vulnerability and toughness. I don't know, it was very emotional. But I love him so much for that.
The secret to long life, I would say, for my mom and dad, my dad always used to say, it's not what you're eating, it's what eating you. And so I don't think he worried about what he couldn't change. So if it was beyond his ability to change something, he didn't worry about it too much. And I think a faith in God goes along with that. It's like, God has your days, he knows them, and if you can trust him with your life, it's a good thing. It takes the pressure off you.
And for Mom and Dad, keeping active, right? They've danced. They used to dance twice a week. I'm not sure if they're still doing that, but they're dancing at least once a week or trying to. And for someone who's 190, that's amazing. So that's kind of what we want to end up being, is keeping active and living simply.
He's 100 years old now. He'll still come out and see what I'm doing on the farm here. So he's not bedridden. He still has his faculties except for his eyesight. And Mom and Dad still go dancing. So you gotta love that. Like, he's still very active.
Do I have any idea why they live so long? Yes, I have many theories. One is that they dance. I once read an article about people who dance live longer. And that may have to do with the music, that may have to do with the social interaction, that may have to do with the physical activity. I'm a physical therapist, so I always keep that in mind. But they're physically active, they're socially interacting, they're having fun, they're laughing. It's a little bit of wine as well, which can't be bad. So it's, I don't know. And then having the family that's intact. There's not a whole lot of stress in it. There's always been a couple things, but for the most part, a really happy family. The siblings get along. There's no real huge stress. So I think all of those factors, but I have to say dancing is probably one of them, just because of all the benefits that has. But then the family gathers around them as well. And when you've got family around, things can't be too bad.
The music and the dancing, I remember you telling me that is something that keeps you motivated and alive and feeling good.
Well, you can feel some pains, but when the music starts, you don't feel them.
Does it make you feel a little bit younger again when you dance?
Oh, yes, it does.
So many guys, you know, not even there anymore, that's my age, you know, they just can't do nothing anymore. And I didn't want to be that way. I kept active all my years as I grew old. Dancing's part of it. And I know Letty likes to dance. We've always danced.
So you've done a fair bit of dancing.
I think I made all the right moves.